Hi, my name is Joe and I run games. But before I run games, I have to plan games. Today we are planning for my Draw Steel game entitled A Study in Effluence. If you watched the last campaign diary, it just happened over there on YouTube, you know. If you watched my last campaign diary, you will know that my PCs sort of diverged a little bit from the plot we had talked about last time. I think last time we had mostly talked about Sir Magpie and the Court of Ravens, all of which was true, or the Raven Court rather, but let's talk about some stuff that I designed to go along with this sort of very horror-y plot. I think the Raven Court plot is a little bit more pulpy, and the Angels plot is a little bit more cosmic-y. The Angels plot was almost entirely inspired by the Angels from Crows. That's a cool idea. So let's show you what I designed. Basically, the PCs have come upon people who are sort of being hollowed out. The Angels are mechanically taking their skills, their languages, narratively they're taking their memories, their thoughts, absorbing them into themselves to fuel their continued existence, right? Basically, these Angels are attached to the hand of a dead god. I think in total there must be 10 of them because he's got 5 fingers on each hand, but in practice, the PCs are only going to have to deal with 5 of them because the body of a dead god is a massive thing. And while one of the hands is over this area here, and I think it doesn't exist in the material world, I think it is in I think it is on the other side in the spirit realm. Well, one of its hands is over this area. The other one of its hands could be fucking anywhere, right? I mean, this was the god of the earth, an earth god, a god of the world. In the Thessalan tradition, in their pantheon, what he really was, I don't know, but he must have been fucking big, right? So what I have here is a generic angel, kind of based on a demon. You know, it's got 100 stamina, 2 stability, all this stuff. Pretty good stats. It's an angel. I gave it 1 signature attack, Agonizing Beauty, which does psychic damage and dazes with potency. I gave it a maneuver that is just to move people back. And it's got soul sight and blah, blah, blah. It's got villain actions. The first one is great. Choose between taking 5 psychic damage or being dazed. I love it. The second one is 5 psychic damage and anyone facing the angel is blinded. Blinded is not a condition that exists in Draw Steel, but I made it up. The mechanics of Draw Steel make that easy. And all it is just you can't use your sight for a line of effect. Piece of cake. For the record, that worked just fine in game. And then action 3 is the one where it sucks up skills from the people around it. Okay, fine. My understanding is, here's what I've got. I've got 5 angels. You know, the angel of glory, a messenger angel, a winged angel, an angel of song, and a judge. The glory one makes you love it, right? It spends 5 malice as a free maneuver, and it counts as an ally until the end of the next turn, which is great, right? Because that means abilities that only target enemies can't target it. That means that if you have abilities that say your allies gain, say surges, it gains surges. But if you have abilities that can target creatures, it can still be affected. It's not ridiculous. It doesn't completely unbalance anything, but it's interesting, right? I like that. The messenger just has double speed and can whisper doubt into your mind. Just gives you a bane, right? These are easy things. The angel of wings, the one I used in my last game, has a maneuver where it just pushes you away with blasts of its wings and knocks you prone. The judge has a judgment, right? Very much like the censor, but essentially, I actually really like this mechanic. You make a roll. When damage is dealt to the judge, it judges you. You make a roll. I don't think I have decided what that roll is based on yet. I have 2 thoughts. I'm of 2 minds on this. One is you roll whatever one of the target attributes are for your class. Okay, you're a tactician. Okay, then show me, right? The other one is you roll your presence. Is the judge impressed with you? I may not make a call before game day. We'll see. But if you roll tier 1, then you are deemed unworthy. The judge only takes half damage from your attack. You take half damage from your attack. If you get a tier 2 result, then you are judged to be weak. And the judge only takes half damage from your attack, but you don't take any damage. And if you roll a tier 3, you are worthy, and the judge takes damage as if you had spent 2 surges. I think that's badass, actually. Like that at a tier 3, the judge is like, I must concede, that was a good shot. Okay, a palpable hit. I don't have an action here for the Angel of Song. I will need one. I have a feeling it feels like it should be bardy, mind control-y, troubadour-y. I just don't know what to do with it yet. But that's it. That's Angels. That's all of them. And this isn't really, like, the trick with this is, I don't have a resolution to this plot. And that's kind of the thing we need. There's two things we need to do here. One is spruce up the Angels a little, and I'll tell you why. And the other is come up with some sort of a resolution to this plot. To be quite honest, I wasn't sure they were going to bite on it at all. So here's where we are. First things first. A signature ability and a maneuver is fine. But first off, I was doing a lot of dazing people and pushing them back in this fight. And it just kind of felt one note. So I need something else I can do. And I don't know if that is one more signature ability or if that is a triggered action, but I need something else I can do. So I don't know. What are some things that feel angelic? I could have a vengeance attack where they set things on fire, like a flaming sword. That'd be pretty good. Let me check. Do any of my players get resources from untyped damage? I think they do. Checking now. Much to the contrary, it is damage that isn't untyped that they have abilities for. So no real concerns there. Yeah. So let's just add a flaming sword on here. And do we want that to be a free ability? I don't know. I think maybe I want it to be, it could either be a free ability or it could cost malice. I think one of the things I was missing was Angel Malice. So let's say, in fact, let's come up with some Angel Malice. That'll help. Flaming Sword seems like the sort of thing that it should be able to do fairly often, but not necessarily constantly. So let's call that there's 4 of them. So I'm going to get 4 malice out the gate. I don't want it to be round 1. So we can call it 5 or 6 malice. Let's call it 6 malice. And real quick, I'm going to take a look and see if other flaming attacks have cool abilities, like they set you on fire, stuff like that. Let's find out. We'll find out together. Ooh, I like Dragon's Eruption. That deals fire damage, and then more fire damage if you don't have sufficient agility to get out of the way. That's a cool start. But I bet I can find a flaming sword in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Fire, and then agility versus burning. A burning creature takes d6 fire damage at the start of each of their turns. That sounds fine. That sounds fine. I don't necessarily need to do 10, 15, 18. That dude's level 5. But let's call it, and then that's agility 2 and 3. I'll call that agility 1 and 2. But that should be similar. So let's say this thing does like, so tier 1, 5 fire, tier 2, 7 fire, agility minus less than 1 burning, tier 3, 10 fire, agility medium, less than medium burning. Great. Burning is d6 fire at the start of your turn. Sounds good to me. Okay, so that's Angel Malice number 1. What else can angels do with malice? Well, you would think they could heal. Is that going to come up in this particular game? I don't know. There's nothing more irritating than bad guys who heal themselves. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm already pushing what a first level character should be up against with the 100 stamina here. Like, one of these is going to be fine. 2 of these is going to rack them. There's only 4 of them. One of the things that I think angels should be able to do, oh, well, also, we can create an area, right? So let's call it Sacred Space. We'll call that like 10 malice. For 10 malice, this should be pretty cool. I guess let's call that a burst. So it's going to sanctify a burst 8 area. So what does a sanctified area do? I don't know. I guess it applies an edge to the angel's allies and a bane to its enemies. But I think it should do something to magical and psionic effects, right? Okay. Magical and psionic effects in the area are dampened. Any persistent effect requires a save to maintain. If an effect requires a save to end, the angel can use its triggered action to end that effect on itself or its ally. That seems pretty fair. Anything else? Yeah. Sea God. 4 malice. Is there a roll involved? First off, what kind of action is this? I think it's probably a maneuver. Okay, so let's see how maneuvers with effects tend to go. So the answer is it's kind of all over the place. So we'll just do this. One creature, and that creature rolls intuition. Tier 1 result, 5 psychic damage, and the target gains 1 level on the sanity track. Tier 2 result, target gains 1 level on the sanity track, no damage. Tier 3 result, nothing happens. Fine. Excellent maneuver, I think. Okay, that feels good for Malice. I still have no triggered actions, so I need a base triggered action on these aliens. Aliens? Angels. And I feel like I need a triggered action for when they take melee damage. Right? The angel takes damage from a strike in an adjacent square. That is to say, if you're standing right next to it and you do damage to it, what happens? There's all kinds of things that could happen. I kind of like that you just take a little psychic damage. Like you feel its pain because you're too close. Actually. Yeah, no, it's too complicated. For a second, I was thinking it takes damage and whoever is standing closest to it, but fuck it, that's too complicated. And then basically that means the attacker takes half that damage as psychic damage, max 5. Or should I just say they take like 3 psychic damage? I don't want to nickel and dime this thing. Takes, we're going to call it 3 psychic damage. Okay. That gives me some more versatility. I like that. I still don't know what to do with the Angel of Song, but I'll figure it out before the next time. So that sort of rounds out the angels insofar as mechanics goes. Now the question is, what do I do with this plot? Because ultimately what's happening here is this is like weather, right? This dead god is floating around in the mind realm, has been doing for thousands of years probably, and basically it just has drifted over this area. And when people in this area perform religious rituals or any sort of rituals, and they are more or less alone, it will garner the attention of one of these angels, like a parasite. And then the angel will present itself to them, and these things are moving on reflex, right? They're you can think of them as bad chatbots, right? They're clunky. To say AI implies that you have ever seen artificial intelligence. You have not. There's no such thing as artificial intelligence. But they're like clunky language models, right? They're magical models. Same idea. They are one of the things that I sort of did when I created the older civilizations in this world is I judged their level of magical proficiency. And one of the higher levels of magical proficiency is the ability to create intelligent, self-sustaining spells. If you've ever read The Workshop Watches, that kind of spell. Or how. You get it. So they're a step below that kind of thing. They seem intelligent, but they're not. Even when this god was alive, they seemed intelligent, but they were not. Because there was always, even if maybe he didn't realize it, a shard of his power that was kind of piloting these things. So they could behave as independent creatures. Now they're still attached to this god, but he's dead. And so they are basically being fueled by little kicks and sparks of divine energy dying over millennia. And when they encounter divine intelligence, by which I mean the kind of energy that comes from piety, that's what fuels them. And when they feel like there's an intelligence behind it, essentially they're just drawn like a moth to a flame, and they're consuming it, drawing it in the same way they would have drawn it in from the god. Obviously, one resolution is just to kill all the angels. It's not very satisfying. They could disconnect them all and then watch them all, sputter and die. That might be interesting, but ultimately it's the same thing. And because of the cosmic horror element and because of what is at the root of this, I actually don't know that they're ever going to figure out what's going on here. At best, I think they're going to get a look at, 5 miles long fingers with hundreds of cracky little double jointed knuckles descending from the sky and sort of puppeting these things around. And I think that might be the best they can hope for a resolution. The real thing here is to figure out when this is going to go away, and is there a way they can speed that up? And I don't know the answer. And that's fine, I guess. On one hand, I can just leave them to it. I can leave them to their own devices, and in a perfect world, they might come at this as a respite project. They might say, look, we don't need to fight 5 angels. Let's figure out how to speed this thing up. I have a feeling they're going to fight at least one more, maybe 2. And truth be told, there don't have to be only 5. This thing can have 12 fingers. I don't care. Unfortunately, I think this might be one of those situations where we just shrug our shoulders and say, we'll see what the PCs come up with. It doesn't feel very satisfying. Let's take a look at the XP. So the PCs currently have 10 XP. They got 1 victory for their initial investigation with the dead bodies in the tedious farm. They got 1 for fighting the angel. If they fight 2 more angels and figure out what's going on here, then that means the next XP they get pushes them over the edge and they level. So I do need something better here, because this plot is going to level them if they finish it up. And I think it is. I think they're probably going to end up fighting 2 more angels. So what I need then is something that gets them some information regarding how they can close this thing up. And then, because this is going to be the end of the level, I think I need a reveal here. So what do we got? I could have something from Corinne's past, but if I'm honest, amnesia is her complication. Level 1 feels way too early to resolve that complication. Like level 3, level 4, maybe that's where we want to resolve that. Now, Vanish has recently joined a local guild, has kind of been putting some of his skills to use. I would prefer that he expose himself a little more before his past comes to haunt him. Marta does not know where her power comes from. And maybe I can use that to my advantage. Maybe that power can be part of this solution. Because she doesn't know the origin of it, maybe it can be what helps to push this thing further out afield. Basically, I think what they want to do is maybe push this god deeper into the spirit realm, deeper into the realms of the mind. Or Titus could go fishing. This isn't really his kind of problem. He maybe has some old allies that I could call in. That might be a thing. Have these PCs done anything that I can bring back? Let's take a look at their old plots. Option number 3 is that we Deus Ex Machina just a little bit. So far, the PCs have not really made use of the fact that there is a fully stocked military fort right here. And it has its own leadership. It's got its own guards, its own militia, and it's got its own chaplain. And they may be more useful here. I could loan them a sensor, a conduit, something like that. That doesn't feel very earned, though. Maybe it doesn't have to. This is a horror game, after all, that they have asked me to run. So, the question here is, what would the X-Files do? Now that they know that they're dealing with a dead god, one solution might be to send it enough energy, enough mental power via telepathy, mind speech. The PCs have resources to send it enough energy that it shifts in its slumber a little bit. Basically, rolling over in his death the way you would roll over in your sleep. Then the angels go away. They become a former problem. I like it, but I don't want that to be the only solution. For the record, most of these angel quotes are from a short called Homemade Gatorade by Carter Amelia Davis on YouTube. You should go watch it, and then you too will never sleep again. God, great. Her stuff is brilliant, and it makes you feel crazy, and that's exactly what I wanted for this. Okay, so we'll make a list of possible resolutions. We've got So number one, we nudge the dead god to make him roll over in his sleep. That's maybe a combination of Corinne and Marta's powers. That's interesting. Doesn't give Titus and Vanish much to do, except maybe fight angels. Maybe map out where the angels will be and just get everybody out of the way. I mean, again, these things are basically like weather. They basically need some way to see the fingers there, right? And then they could figure it out. Maybe divination, magic, who knows. Alternatively, we borrow a sensor or conduit from the chaplain and something. Alternatively, the right kind of conduit could, thematically but not mechanically, draw power away from these things, right? The right kind of conduit might be like, well, I will just pull my magic from them, right? It's a dead god. It can't stop me. The angels are running on autopilot. It can't stop him either. It's not like working with a regular god where that regular god has to decide to let you have its power. So that might be really interesting. It'd be better if one of the PCs were a conduit, of course. I don't like taking things out of their hands. This is a start. The reason I like this first solution, and I hope that they sort it out, is because then I get to sort of explore a little bit about the nature of where Marta's null abilities come from. And to be clear, I don't know everything about that yet. So that'd be fun for me too. And this angel plot has been very Marta heavy, so that wouldn't be terrible. You know, I mean, everybody gets their own time to shine. And the next plot line with the Raven Court will be Vanish's time to shine. So, because they operate very much like a thieves guild, he's gonna be huge in that one. And I think probably also Titus, because of course they are basically the aristocracy of this place, and so is Titus. They walk in the same circles. Okay. So next time, I think if they get into a fight, I'm going to hit them with Glory and Judge. As far as angels go, I've got more things for them to do now. The PCs already know that they're going to take extra corruption damage, so that will help. I like the idea that when these two angels are working in tandem, they're probably going to create this sacred space. So I like the idea that creating it requires putting your flaming sword in the ground. And then if you want to use the flaming sword, you got to go pick it up, ending the sanctification. And that means that the PCs can go try to pull the sword out of the ground and end the effect. Call that a medium might test. I think that's cool. So that's more like, it's more like a terrain effect or whatever. And that's cool. I wonder if these angels might have the ability to, they probably do, sort of puppet around these people that they have emptied out. Maybe there's one more somewhere that the PCs don't know about. And so if they get into a fight, there might be this minion there, maybe even 2 or 3 minions there that this has already happened to sort of do battle with the PCs. That could be cool. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I think that's enough. I think that's as much planning as I can do here. I'm going to have to play some of it by ear. So tune into the next 1 or 2 campaign diaries to see how this goes. Catch you guys later.